Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see about the next chapter of Laxmikanth, that is interstate relation. So what we are going to discuss in this lecture? We are going to discuss mainly 5 subtopics in this lecture. They are, the first one is Article 262 of Indian Constitution, and the second one is Article 263, and the next one is Article 261 of Indian Constitution, and we are going to see from Articles 301 to 307, and this comes under the Part 13 of the Indian Constitution. And later on we are also going to see the Zonal Councils. So if you see this Article 262 of Indian Constitution mainly deals with the interstate river disputes. So under this interstate river disputes, under this Article 262 of Indian Constitution, there are mainly two provisions. The first important provision that talks that the Parliament by law can dissolve these disputes that are happening between the two states. That is, Parliament have the power here. Parliament can make the law. So under this provision, Parliament came up with the two important laws or the acts. The first one is the River Boards Act. River Boards Act of 1956, and the next one is Interstate River Water Dispute Act. Interstate River Dispute Act of 1956 again. Under this interstate river dispute, and there is a second one is the River Boards Act of 1956. So what is the difference between these two acts? So if you see this River Boards Act, it is advisory in nature, just advisory in nature. And this Interstate River Dispute Act, it is ad hoc tribunal. So what is the meaning of the ad hoc? It means it was constituted the temporary basis, only on the temporary basis. So whenever the award which is given by this ad hoc tribunal, it is binding on the parties. And the second important provision under this Interstate River Dispute Act is Supreme Court, it is barred. Okay, Supreme Court should not enter into this, which is award which is given by this tribunal. So this is about the interstate river dispute. And if you look at this Article 263, it mainly talks about the interstate councils. So what is the important aim or the objective of this interstate council? There should be the proper coordination between the center, states and also the union territories. Mainly to ensure this proper coordination between the states, union territories and the center, there is the interstate council. And if you see this Article 261, it talks about the full faith and the credit. It mainly regarding with the public acts, proceedings, that is judicial proceedings, and also records. So we are going to discuss this full faith and credit detailing in this lecture. And the next one is Article 301 to 307. It comes under the Part 13 of the Indian Constitution, and this mainly talks about interstate trade and commerce. Under this interstate trade and commerce, we are going to see about the Article 301, Article 302, Article 303, Article 304, Article 305 and Article 307. And later on, we are going to discuss this Zonal Council. So what is this Zonal Council? This Zonal Council, it is the idea which is present in the 1956, mainly the reorganization of the states. So under this act, India was to be divided into 5 zones, that is Eastern Zone, Central Zone, Western Zone, Northern Zone and the Southern Zone. So in this Zonal Council, the important members includes the chairman and the other members. The chairman, it is the Union Home Minister. Chairman is Union Home Minister, and the vice chairmen includes the CMs of that zone. So if you see the western zone, there may be about 4 to 5 CMs that will come under this. So if you see the northern zone, about 4 to 5, again in the northern and again the southern, there are about 5 to 6 or 4 to 5 CMs that comes under this. So how they act as a vice chairman? So they act as a vice chairman in 1 year, that is for the tenure of the 1 year, one CM will act as a vice chairman, and next year another CM. So likewise we say this, there is a CM that will be acts as a vice chairman mainly for the 1 year of the tenure. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about these 5 subtopics. The first one is Article 262. Next one is Article 263 that talks about the interstate councils, and Article 261 that talks about the full faith and credit, and the next one is interstate trade and commerce, that is dealt with the Article 301 to 307, mainly comes under the Part 13 of the Indian Constitution, and later on at the last part it is a zonal councils. So let's get started and let us see what is written in our Laxmikanth. So if you see the introduction regarding this interstate council, the introduction is here. The successful function of the Indian federalism that depends not only on the center-state relations, but we also ensure that the proper coordination or the proper close cooperation that is seen between the center, states and also the union territories. So in this context, interstate relations also very important, mainly for the successful functioning of the Indian federal system. So hence our constitution makes the following provisions with regard to the interstate committee. They include the 4 important things. The first one is adjudication of the interstate water disputes, that is under the Article 262 of Indian Constitution, and through the coordination through the interstate councils according to Article 263 of Indian Constitution. And next one is the mutual recognition of the public acts, records and the judicial proceedings under Article 261 of Indian Constitution. And next one is freedom of the interstate trade, commerce and intercourse under Article 301 to Article 307, which comes under the Part 13 of the Indian Constitution. And the next one is a zonal councils, and these zonal councils are mainly made by an act of the parliament, and the chairman will be the Union Home Minister. So these are the 5 things we are going to discuss in this lecture. So let us see the first one, that is interstate water disputes. And if you see the Article 262, it talks about the interstate water disputes. So according to the 262 article of the Indian Constitution, which mainly provides for the adjudication of the interstate water disputes, and it contains mainly 2 important provisions. The first one, which is talked about the Parliament by law can provide for the adjudication of any dispute of the complaint with respect to the use, distribution and the control of the waters of any interstate river or river valley. So the Parliament have the power. So whether this Parliament used this power? Yes. So according to this, we see about 2 important acts, that is River Boards Act. Next one is Interstate Water Dispute Act, and these are made in the year 1956, both of them. So let us see them also. So the second provision is Parliament may also provide that neither the Supreme Court nor any other court to exercise a jurisdiction in respect to any such dispute or complaint. So it is barring down the Supreme Court. Supreme Court have no power to enter into this concept. Okay, whenever there is any dispute between the states regarding the river or the river valley dispute, so the Supreme Court have no power according to the Article 262 of the Indian Constitution. So if you see under this first provision, the Parliament enacted mainly 2 laws. The first one is Rivers Board Act of 1956, and the second one is Interstate Water Dispute Act of 1950C. So let us see the provisions of this River Board Act of 1956 and the Interstate Water Dispute Act of 1956. So let us see the first one, River Boards Act. This River Boards Act, it provides for the establishment of the river boards for the regulation and also the development of the interstate river and the river valleys. And these boards are mainly established by the central government. So this is important prelims fact. and this river board can be established by the central government whenever these states governments which are requesting to the parliament to make such river boards. So that means these are mainly advisory in nature. Okay, so these river boards are mainly advisory in nature. And the next one is Interstate Water Dispute Act. It empowers again the central government mainly to set up the ad hoc tribunal. So what is the meaning of the ad hoc? Ad hoc means temporary, only for the temporary time. So it can set up the ad hoc tribunal mainly for the adjudication of the dispute between the two or more states, mainly in relation to the water, either the river water or the river valley. So if you see, this ad hoc tribunal will give the final judgment, or we also call as it award, the award or the judgment or the award which is given by this ad hoc tribunal, it is final and it is binding on the parties to the dispute. So this award should be followed by the parties. So it means it is binding on the parties. So this is the first important thing that is talked under this Interstate Water Dispute Act. And the second important provision is, it says neither Supreme Court nor any other court is to have the jurisdiction with respect to any dispute which may be referred by this tribunal under this act. That means already we know this ad hoc tribunal, it will give the award, and this award which is given by the tribunal, it is final and the binding. But if at all this award which is not accepted by any state, the state do not have the power to move to the Supreme Court. Here this act mainly bars the Supreme Court or any other court to have the jurisdiction in any respect to the any water dispute which is referred to such tribunal. So under Article 262 of the Indian Constitution, the Supreme Court do not have the power mainly to give the jurisdiction regarding this river water disputes. But if you are reading newspaper, you will frequently come across that in the Kaveri river dispute or the Krishna river dispute or Godavari river dispute. So the Supreme Court gives some directions. But how? If you see in the Article 262, in the first provision also it says that the second provision also says that the Supreme Court it is barred. And even regarding this Interstate Water Dispute Act, the second provision says that Supreme Court it is barred. But how the Supreme Court it is taking? Supreme Court have the power according to the Article 136, it talks about the special leave petition. According to this special leave petition, any other judgment or any award which is given by any court or any tribunal, that can be appealed to the Supreme Court. So by using this Article 136 special leave petition, Supreme Court it is looking into those issues that is regarding the Kaveri water dispute or the Krishna river or the Godavari river. So it is not using the Article 262 because Article 262 it is debarring the Supreme Court to enter into this. So it is using the Article 136, that is special leave petition. I hope it is clear now. So let us look further. So I also added the different river water disputes, and it is important regarding the which states are involved in which river dispute. So this is important regarding the prelims, and also it is important regarding the state exams as well. So let us see once those as well. So the first one is the Krishna River Dispute Tribunal. It was set up in the year 1969, and the state involved, that is Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. How can you remember MAC? Okay. And the next one is Godavari Water Dispute Tribunal, and it is also set up in the year 1969. And the states which are involved, that is MAC, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and MO, that is Madhya Pradesh and Odisha. And the next one is Narmada Water Dispute Tribunal, again in 1969. The state which are include are Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and the Rajasthan. Okay. And next one is Ravi Bias Water Dispute Tribunal. It was established in the year 1986 between the states Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan, HPR. And next one is Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal in the year 1990. And the state which are included are the Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry or Puducherry. And the next one is Krishna Water Disputes Tribunal, established in the year 2004. It is a second dispute tribunal between the states MAK again. And next one is Vansadhara Water Dispute Tribunal, established in the year 2010 between Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, and Mahadayi Water Dispute Tribunal between the states Goa, Karnataka and Maharashtra. Mahanadi Water Dispute Tribunal between the Odisha and the Chhattisgarh. So whenever you are preparing for any state service examinations, this part it is very important. Okay, so please remember this. And let us see the next article. Article 263 of the Indian Constitution talks about the Interstate Council. So if you see this article 263, it says for the establishment of the Interstate Council, mainly to effect the coordination between the states and also between the states and the center, mainly to ensure that is a proper cooperation between the state and the center is present. This article 263 empowers for the establishment of the Interstate Council. So who can establish? It is the president. The president can establish such a council for any time it appears to him that the public interest would be served by this establishment. So what are the functions of this Interstate Council? There are mainly three. The first one is inquiry, and the second one is investigation, and third one is recommendation. These are the three important functions of the Interstate Council. So let us elaborate inquiry, investigation and the recommendation. Inquiry into and advising upon the disputes which may arise between the state. The inquiry regarding the disputes which is arising between the state, and the next one is investigating and discussing the subjects in which the states or the center and the state have the common interest, and the next one is making the recommendations upon any subject that particularly for the better coordination of the policy and also action on it. So in these three are the important functions of the Interstate Council under Article 263 of the Indian Constitution. And next one is Article 261. It talks about the public acts, records and the judicial proceedings. So under our constitution, the jurisdiction of each state, it is confined to its own territory. Hence, it is possible that the acts, records of one state may not be recognized by the another state. So if you see in the India, we have the different states. Whenever any state which is coming with any law or any act, these are applicable only within the territory of the state but not outside the state. So the other state may not recognize these acts, these records which are came up by the state. So mainly to remove that difficulty, the constitution which contains the full faith and the credit clause, which includes this one. The first one is regarding the public acts, second one is regarding the records, and third one is the judicial proceedings. So let us see one by one. The first one is full faith and the credit is to be given throughout the territory of the India regarding the public acts, records and also judicial proceedings of the center and every state, which is talked in the Article 261 of the Indian Constitution. So first of all, what is this expression public acts means? They include the both legislative and also the executive acts of the government. And the next one is the manner in which and the conditions under such acts and records and the proceedings ought to be proved and their effect that can be determined would be provided by the law of the parliament. So this is very difficult to understand. So let us see simply what is the meaning of that statement. It means the general rule which is mentioned above is a subject to the power of the parliament, mainly to lay down the mode of the proof as well as the effect of that such acts, such records and the proceedings of the one state in another state. So the power which is vested with the parliament mainly to lay down the proof whether the acts, whether the records and the proceedings of the one state are followed in the another state or not. And the next one, it is regarding the judicial proceedings. The first one is the final judgments and the orders mainly of the civil courts which are present in any part of the India. They are capable of the execution anywhere within the India. So by this we can see if at all any civil proceedings happen in the one state, whenever the judgment which is given in this state can be applicable to the other state which is present in the India as well. And this only applies for the civil cases but not for the criminal cases, only for the civil cases. So this is the one of the important condition. And let us see the next one, that is interstate trade and commerce. Mainly the articles from Article 301 to the Article 307 of the Constitution mainly talks about the interstate trade and commerce and intercourse, and it is mainly present in the part 13 of the Indian Constitution. Till now we studied about Article 262, Article 263 and Article 261. They are present in the part 12. And from this Article 301 to 307, mainly they are present in the part 13 of the Indian Constitution, and this deals with the trade, commerce and the intercourse within the territory of the India. So let us see one by one article in detail. So if you see this Article 301, it mainly declares that trade, commerce and intercourse throughout the territory of the country, it should be free. That means Article 301 says that the trade which is happening between the states and throughout the territory of the country, that should be free of cost. But if you see, we are paying taxes, correct, but how? So let us see the next Article 302. Article 302 says that Parliament can impose the restriction on the freedom of the trade, commerce and also intercourse between the states within a state in a public interest. So under this Article 302, the Parliament have the power to impose tax. Okay. So under Article 302, the power which is given to the Parliament of the India mainly to impose a tax mainly within the state and also within the territory in the public interest. And let us see the next article, Article 303, that talks about the state legislature can impose the reasonable restrictions regarding the freedom of the trade, commerce and the intercourse, that is within the state or within that state or within that state in the public interest. That means within that state, the state legislature have the power to impose the tax. Okay. So whenever you're studying about the Article 31, you should not feel happy. So you have to read the next provisions as well. So in the next provisions, you can see some of the restrictions as well. So if you see the Article 301, it says that the trade, commerce and intercourse within the territory of the India, it is free. But if you see the Article 302, it is giving the power to the Parliament to impose the restrictions or impose the taxes. And Article 303, it is providing the state legislature mainly to giving the power to impose the tax. And let us see the Article 304, what it says. And if you see the Article 304, it says the legislature of the state can impose on the goods imported from the other state or the union territories any tax to which the similar goods which are manufacturing in the state are subject. So for example, if you see the pen, let us take this pen. This pen, it is manufacturing in the state 1, and this pen is also manufactured by a company in the state 2. This state 1 also importing these pens from the state 2 as well. So if you see this Article 304, it says that whenever there is importing of the subject or importing of any goods which is already manufacturing in that state is happening, but the state which is importing the same product from the other state. So then this, according to the Article 304, it is giving the power to the state legislature mainly to impose a tax on the product which is imported from the other state. Okay. So this is about Article 304. So this provision also prohibits the imposition of the discriminatory tax by the state. So this is one important exception here. And let us see the next article, Article 305. This Article 305, which is providing the power to both the Parliament or the state legislature, they can make the laws for the carrying by the respective government regarding any trade, regarding the business, industry or service, whether they are to be exclusion or the complete or the partial of the citizens on the otherwise. That means the Parliament and the state can make the laws regarding the trade, commerce and the intercourse. And if you see the last one, that is Article 307, that gives the power to the Parliament. The Parliament can appoint any committee or any appropriate authority mainly for carrying out the purposes of the above provision, which is relating to the freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse and the restrictions on it. So here the power which is given to the Parliament according to the Article 307 of Indian Constitution. So these are the some of the important articles which talks about the interstate trade and commerce. So let us see the next subpart, that is zonal councils. These zonal councils are not constitutional, but they are statutory. That means they are made by an act of the Parliament. So whenever any body which is made by the act of the Parliament, they are called as statutory. And if you see any body which is made under the constitution or giving any article, for example, if you see the Finance Commission, there is one article that is present in our constitution, that is article 280 of the Indian constitution deals with the Finance Commission. So whenever we are talking whether any body which is present in the constitution, then that body it is called as constitutional body. So if at all this body which is not present in the constitution, but whenever any body which is made by an act of the parliament, they are called as statutory body. So this is the difference between the statutory and the constitutional body. I hope it is clear now. So if you see the Zonal Council, it is a statutory body and they are established under the act of the parliament, and that act is a State Reorganization Act of 1956. And this act mainly divided the country into 5 zones. The first one is Northern Zone, second one is Central Zone, third one is Eastern Zone, Western Zone and the Southern Zone. And they provided for the Zonal Council for each zone. So if you divide the India into 5 zones, Central Zone, Northern Zone, Western Zone, Southern Zone, Eastern Zone, in each zone there is a Zonal Council is present. So who are the members of this Zonal Council? This is important regarding the prelims point of view. So please make a note somewhere. The members include Home Minister of the central government, and he will be the chairman of the Zonal Council. And the next one is the Chief Minister of all the state in that zone. For example, if you say this Western Zone, there may be the 4 to 5 Chief Ministers, and these Chief Ministers will act as a Vice Chairman. Okay, Vice Chairman of this Zonal Council. And other members include the 2 other ministers from each state in the zone and the administrators of each union territory of that zone. So these are all the members of this Zonal Council. So if you see the Home Minister of the central government, called as the Union Home Minister, he is the common chairman of all the 5 zones, and each Chief Minister acts as a vice chairman of that zone, mainly by the rotation. They hold the office for the period of the 1 year time. That means, for example, if you have a zone which contains 5 states, and the CMs of all the 5 states will comes under the members of the Zonal Council. For example, there are 5 CMs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So for the first year, the Chief Minister of the first state will act as a Vice Chairman for 1 year. After the 1 year tenure, the second Chief Minister will act as a Vice Chairman for the 1 year. And after this tenure, then the Vice Chairman will be acted by this third Chief Minister, and later on 4th and the 5th. So in this way, we see the rotation of these chairmans will be happen under this Zonal Council. They act as the Vice Chairman. And these Zonal Councils mainly aim at promoting the cooperation and also the coordination between the states, union territories and also the center. And the main objectives of these Zonal Councils, they are, the first one is to achieve the emotional integration of the country. The first one is achieve the emotional integration, and next one is to help in the arresting of the growth of the acute state consciousness, religionism, lingualism and the particularistic trends. And the next one is they also help in the removing the after effects of the separation, and in the same cases that the process of the reorganization, integration and economic advancement may synchronize as well. And the next important objective is mainly to enable the center and the state to cooperate with each other regarding the social and also the economic matter. And in this way, they can easily exchange their ideas, easily exchange their experience in order to evolve the uniform policies throughout the country. And the next one is to cooperate with each other in the successful and the speedy execution of the major development projects. And the last important one is to secure some kind of the political equilibrium between the different regions of the country. So these are the important objectives of this Zonal Council. So by this we are concluding today. So before concluding, just have a small recap what we studied. We studied about Article 262 talks about the river water disputes, and according to this there are 2 provisions. The first one talks about the Parliament bylaw and the second one is Supreme Court, it is barred. Under this Parliament made by the law, Parliament enacted 2 acts. River Boards Act of 1956 and the Interstate River Dispute Act of 1956. Under this there are 2 important things. The first one we are already discussed, and second one regarding the Supreme Court, it is again barred here. But according to the Article 136, Supreme Court used the special leave petition, and it will take up the cases regarding this tribunal award. And this Interstate River Dispute Act, it is a ad hoc tribunal, and the decision or the award which is given, it is a final and the binding on the parties. And we discussed about Article 262, 263, it talks about the Interstate Council, and we saw the functions, that is inquiry, investigation and the recommendations. Article 261 talks about the public acts, records and also judicial proceedings. And we also looked into the Article 301 to Article 307 that talks about the interstate trade and commerce. And at last we discussed about the Zonal Councils as well. These are the statutory bodies. They are mainly established by the acts of the parliament. So I hope it is clear now. So by this we end this interstate relations. So I hope you understand this lecture. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel. Please do like, share and comment my videos. Thank you.